What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. We just wrapped up day one of the official launch. Wrapped up meaning I finally finished all my energy refreshing. So we're kind of capped out on everything we can do, at least for day one. If you're new to Etheria, they do have a cap on like how much you can achieve. Of course, you can do some other modes, PvP, things that don't take energy or stability. But in general, you will be capped on progression, which I think is a great thing to kind of keep free-to-plays and whales in line. However, that's going to be part of the video. The main overarching theme is going to be the top mistakes to avoid that I saw a lot of people in my stream make today, as well as mistakes I saw that continued over from the last beta. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll jump straight into it. I have 4 major mistakes to avoid and a lot of tips included in those mistakes. And number 5 is actually my most asked question from so many different viewers today, and I think it's going to help a lot of y'all that probably have the same exact question. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, number 1 on the biggest mistakes to avoid, and this is going to be a general one, but I do have a lot of nuance to it, and that's going to be investing in too many characters early. In these types of games, these turn-based kind of early gachas, you really have limited resource a lot of times on investing in characters. So part of the battle is knowing which characters to invest in early. And if you guys want to stop by any of my live streams, I can help you in real time figure out which account, what you have pulled so far, and we can create the best teams for which early milestones you want to achieve, namely Doki Doki, the early boss farm for like speed sets, as well as we want to be aware and ready for NicoNana, one of the best shell drop bosses early. Okay, that's not going to be until day 4, level 35. We'll talk about that later as we get to it. But the main thing, guys, besides just leveling up too early, one major thing I saw a few people make, and this actually will hurt your progression quite a bit, so make sure you avoid this mistake when you start up, and that is not increasing or saving some gold lattices here for your Lian. Okay, and why this is important for every single player out there, even if you don't plan to use this character, which I highly suggest you do unless you pulled someone like Messiah. But the thing is, you have to invest some skills in here. Every single person has to, because in the hyperlink charter, which we're going to delve into later, you need to, I think it's here under Animus Fate, a lot of it is centered around Lian, using her in certain stages as well. Unfortunately, I don't have it. Let's see if I can scroll to a previous one. Let's see, where are these skills? Is it basic training 1? So you're gonna have multiple of these animus training. I can't remember how many, but I think it's at least 2, if not 3. You have to upgrade her skills a few times throughout this entire Animus Fate. There's so many more modes. It even continues past expert training 3. You get so many rewards. It's something you have to do, because look how good some of these rewards can be. You get a little bit of a kickback for investing into her. Additionally, even if you don't plan to use Lian, like I said, if you have like a better DPS you wanna rock with, like Messiah, for example, you could just end up resetting her in the event later after you already invest into her. So it's not even wasted. Even though you get a kickback, you can even fully reset and get all your resources here in the Animus Reconfigure. Just be aware that this is only a 6-day event. The first one is free, and then it's going to cost gems as they scale up. You can do a total of 5 characters resetting, get all your resources back. But if you don't do this within 6 days, during the open beta, this did kind of disappear for a while. I'm assuming it's going to return, but I don't know what that schedule will be. If anyone knows, please let us know in the comments below. But this is something you can reset Lian with. Just be aware of the timer on it, okay? So that's the major thing, is not setting aside some resources for Lian to do this hyperlink charter, which I'm going to talk about later. It's a major thing that is going to drive your progression, what you should be focusing on, and where you're spending most of your stability. At least this is what will give you a direction when you're not doing things like just general story or arena PvP. Additionally, guys, I kind of hinted at, creating good teams and investing in certain characters. If you watch any of my previous videos, once again, I'm relying on, the usual suspects here. Combination of Lian and Gray. Let's say Lian and Gray for Teramaton, and then Real Mocha and Gray as like a setup for Doki Doki as well. Additionally, my supports are going to be units like Freya, and then, Valerian for healing instead of Sonya this time around. Additionally, we're going to have Marvel for some, speed manipulation in Teramaton, and NicoNana Shell Boss, which I'll talk about later. I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about, so you're on the same page. And then Kazuyo rounds out our CC control for for Doki Doki, because that boss, the best boss to farm early with the speed sets, you have to crowd control to do sufficient damage. All right, so this is kind of my main roster. And of course, those of you that got super lucky and pulled some nice light and dark units, the Apex characters such as Messiah, you can of course shift things in and out. But this is the core roster that I like. Is super accessible, very free to play friendly. A lot of these are free characters, these three included, which I talked about in my last video: the Leon, the Gray, and the Kazuyo. Marvel and Valerian. If you spend any money, Valerian is given to you in the game, even if you spend $1. But they're also just SR, so you're likely to get them. And then Freya does have a banner, or you might get her on the permanent banner as well. So no need to get some specific characters. This is a very good core roster if you guys want to just copy my setup. Additionally, the gold lattices that I talked about for Leanne, you kind of want to have these reserved for your main DPS carries. At least at the start of the game, you will get more gold lattices as you progress, but at the start, they're going to be extremely rare. So number one, invest into the Leanne, and then you can reset her if you want, or just use her straight up for a Terramaton boss. PvP areas like that. And then the second one is going to be your Doki Doki carry, whichever one you end up pulling, and I'm going to touch on this later. Having a Doki Doki character carry, sorry, a little bit of a tongue twister, is going to be one of the main things that a lot of you will struggle with in finding. Some of you guys will look out and you'll have either the real Mocha, Messiah, Shiata. We'll talk more in depth on that later, as that kind of ties into a little bit of my hidden question, or my most asked question. But in general, guys, try to save your gold lattices for your DPS carries, and this will take a little knowledge. Like for example, Real Mocha here is going to want to just max out the skill 3, no really need to invest in the other skills. And then Gray as an SR, which is a little bit cheaper, and he only needs the purples, but this is also a great character to invest in as well. Once again, this kind of comes with knowledge. If you watch any of my other guides, I kind of touch on that, but once again, if you can stop by the live streams, we can talk better, and if you have specific questions on characters, I can help guide you in that fashion. So once again, just to recap, number one, be very careful on building too many characters at the start, because you're going to be very limited on resources, even if you are a spender. And additionally, set aside some gold lattices for Leanne, or you will gatekeep and bottleneck yourself from progressing the hyperlink charter, which is very, very debilitating. Jumping straight into mistake number 2, and that is not refreshing your max amounts up until at least level 35 if you're free to play. But just to be clear, even free to plays, I highly recommend you refresh on the daily 10 times, okay, using these Hydra crystals. Now, the reason this is important, and I mentioned at the start of the video that I'm level 17. Some people might hit 18 depending on if they got some extra stability capsules through the event, or if you end up just using these in general. Right now, I'm going to hold off on this, as I think I can still reach level 35 by around day 4, which is a very big milestone, which is going to unlock Hell Mode for the start of the end game module farming, as well as NicoNana, which is the beginning of the good mythic shell drops. And once again, I'll cover that here in just a second. But the main goal in Etheria to start getting into the good end game juicy stuff is to progress as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're going to kind of be left behind the curve. And is that the biggest deal in the world? Not really, depending on what kind of player you are. But assuming that you click this video, I think you're the type of player that is looking to play efficient, is looking to maximize their time investment, as well as avoid these mistakes. So highly suggest you jump into refreshing 10 times a day, at least until level 35, which if you've been playing every day, you should be hitting around day 4. Okay, so if you started today, you end around 16, 17, 18. By day 4, we should be hitting around level 35 if you are refreshing on the daily. You might need to throw in some extra stability capsules, but the reason I'm saving these is for the farm bonus event that will pop up around week 1.5 to week 2. They'll actually have some bonuses, like if you do your GP prowess or your Animus XP, you'll get bonuses later on. In other games like Epic 7, it's like the hunt buff events and things like that. So be aware of that. There is like bonus drop rate up things in the future of Etheria. Now, additionally, I do want to talk about refreshing Arena. And this is going to be more for my power gamers, my light spenders to big whales. Free to plays, if you are a power gamer too, you could consider this. If you end up getting like a lot of good summons early and you have a lot of Hydra crystals to spend, I think spending arena tickets early on is going to be very beneficial. One, you're going to reach those other achievements a lot earlier. There is an entire hyperlink charter set aside for Ether Arena, so you will get some kickback for it. And additionally, the big thing is too, you start getting these juicy rewards a lot earlier. Not just the perfect lattices, not just the extra summons, the shadow prints, but also things like when you reach that level 35, we're going to want to stockpile of these Etheria coins, because our money. Our silver is going to bottleneck our gear, enhancing our shell, upgrading. Trust me, you're going to want a lot of Etheria coins. So I think this is one thing to keep in mind. If you're full free to play, maybe a little more casual, you can avoid this. But for power gamers, go ahead and consider refreshing some flags or some arena tickets. And then everybody, no matter who you are, should be refreshing at least until level 35. That is the biggest thing I want to leave you guys with for number 2. The number 3 mistake to avoid on our list kind of ties into number 2. If you guys are going to be refreshing 10 times a day, you need to make sure you are utilizing your time efficiently. Because even as a streamer, as someone that plays this all day in the open beta, there were definitely more than a few days where I was pressed for time and I actually did not even get to utilize or use all my crystals into energy and use all of that in a day, because there's so much to do early on in Etheria between, you know, using all this refresh energy, the non-stamina using events like RTA, PvP, guild content, all of that. You're going to be very, very pressed for time, especially if you don't have all day to play video games, or if you have a day job, other hobbies, if you got, you know, whatever you might have, responsibilities. You want to use your time efficiently. So this is a two-folded tip to avoid that mistake, and that is to utilize the continuous battle. I know most of y'all here have already seen this kind of feature. It's in a lot of other games, not just Etheria, but I can show y'all here real quick. Unfortunately, I'm kind of light on energy, but essentially we set our continuous battle at whatever highest mode, whatever content we want to farm at the time. And then at the same time, once this is running in the background, we manually play some other, whatever else we need to use to dump energy. And that's going to let us go through the stability that we're refreshing much, much quicker in case you need that. In general, too, you just want to get in a good habit of really spending your energy efficiently every day so that you're not burning yourself out and you're getting things done in a timely fashion. Now, I do have a last ditch effort. And if you want to stay on curve and want to keep up with the player base by hitting like level 35 on day 4, for example, but you just didn't have enough time in the day to play, what you could do is before that next refresh hits, let's say it's almost near the end of the day, you got to go to bed, you just have other stuff to do. What you could do is cap out your 10 refreshes or whatever you use during the day, whatever you have left. And then that way the next day you'll be able to refresh another 10. Keep in mind though, this is very inefficient, especially if you can't dump that energy soon after you finish your responsibilities, because you won't be getting that natural stability regeneration. As you can see here, like in most games, you do recover some energy or stability 1 point every 5 minutes. So you want to keep this as low as possible to be efficient. This is just a last ditch effort if you want to stay on curve, but it is inefficient, so be very careful of it. Just a last suggestion. Number 4 on the biggest mistakes to avoid. Once again, this is going to tie into number 3, number 2, but that is using your refreshes, your energy, your stability inefficiently, especially early. And what I mean by this is, this was asked a lot. It's not my most asked question, but I did get asked the question on what I should be using or what I should be spending my energy on when I don't have the story. As you can see, guys, see here, there are breakpoints, like you need to be certain levels to complete the story. What should I be farming in the meantime? I will give you guys a handy flow chart, which will help you out a lot. So pay attention here. The number one thing in the beginning to focus on is the hyperlink charter, which I brought up numerous times in this video. So just scroll through here and check out the different areas that you can complete, because you want to be progressing these hyperlink charters. They give you more and more rewards, and they're very good breakpoints to achieve. For example, here I have Hard Kururu, which I could be doing. Unfortunately, that doesn't unlock till later, so I'm going to want to look at different areas. Like shell tuning, can we do a paint normal? I definitely can, so I can do 5. I'll spend some of my energy here, my stability on completing this Grim Pursuit challenge. Now, there will be times where you will complete everything and you don't have a story. Everything that's like, if they ask you to do a new boss, it is level locked. And what do you do when you have nothing that you can accomplish in the hyperlink charter? That's where the mistake comes in, where I see a lot of people farming just Doki Doki or Teramaton just to get some gear drops. When you are early on, like the first 3 days, right, before that big milestone day 4, level 35 hell mode, don't be farming any of the thresholds here more than you need to. Don't farm any more Doki Doki and Teramaton than you need to in the hyperlink charter. Typically, they say things like farm hard Doki Doki 1 time, 10 times, whatever it might be, right? You can see here 1 time, 10 times. Only do the bare minimum here. And the reason for that is because in the beginning, guys, the gear you get from these boss drops is not very good. It's going to be replaced quickly, and it's extremely expensive to enhance this equipment, gear that we're going to throw away later. Instead, what you could be doing after you complete those hyperlink charters to complete a boss 10 times, if you still need like account XP to progress, I would suggest going into areas like GP Outpost, because these are going to be permanent upgrades for your characters. You're going to need so much of this for every single character out there. So get used to farming this. And then additionally, after you get your GP Outpost on point, you can get some Animus XP, because not only will this level up our characters, but we can also start to get some blue shadow prints once we reach the later parts of investigation for breaking through those star upgrades. Now, real quickly, guys, I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of like hitting that 35 milestone and unlocking the hell mode. But for the bosses that we want to be farming, let's actually look at Doki Doki real quick, because I think this one's a little more important. But as you can see here, unlocked after reaching level 35. So that's the milestone we want to hit by around day 4. But you can see here, this is where mythic gear starts dropping. That is actually worth really, grinding for, as well as upgrading. So try not to upgrade any inefficient gear, lower tier gear, too high until we reach this big milestone. And the other one I mentioned was the NicoNana, which is going to be for our shells, which I can show you guys right here. All the way up here, NicoNana. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys, but if you can see right here at least, we can see the mythic drops. This is where they're going to start to drop. And NicoNana, honestly, compared to like Sharon, is going to be very, very efficient. So this is the main reason you want to rush that level 35, so you can start getting that, beginner endgame gear. Beginner endgame, a little bit of an oxymoron, but start getting those gear, the mythic gear that is actually worth investing and farming for. Now, last but certainly not least, my most asked question throughout day 1 of my live stream, and that is, Car, when do I stop pulling on the permanent banner? Okay, if you guys watching my other videos or see any other guides, a lot of people are suggesting, for good reason, to hold on your targeted summon banner for as long as possible. That way we don't get any dupes, and instead do a lot of rolls here on the permanent summon to kind of round out your roster. That's kind of a broad advice though, because a lot of people have been asking, when do I actually stop? Now, this is going to vary on an account-to-account basis. If you're free to play, if you're wailing out, who you actually ended up getting. But in general, the main things, tying back into that NicoNana, that Doki Doki level 35 hell mode, we want to make sure we have both of those on point. Terramaton, a little less important because everyone has Lian, so it's a lot easier to complete that threshold boss. But Doki Doki in particular is going to be, you need to make sure you have a specific DPS as well as the crowd control effects to accompany them. So if we go and jump straight into the Doki Doki boss, one other little tip I can leave y'all with is you could use a tier list like Pridewin. You can stop by my live streams to ask which characters are good for Doki Doki, or you can use these little unfortunately the game is just day 1 right now, so not a lot of people are or no one is past hard 3 yet, but just utilize this little book function. You can kind of see what people are clearing with in terms of both clear time and just in general clearing. So if we take a look at these units here, this is one way of finding out what people are using to clear any area you're stuck on. But in general, I want to talk about the characters that you want to look for, primarily the main DPS, because as I showed y'all, the supporting cast is a lot of times very accessible, free to play friendly. You'll probably have them. A lot of them are SRs or units like Freya. But let's go ahead and look at, I guess I'll open up the archive and we can just take a broad look. But the main DPS number 1, of course, is Real Mocha. So you want to look, do you have a Real Mocha? If you don't, the next step in line would be like a Messiah. If you don't have Messiah, we're going to start looking at other units such as Tiamat. If we don't have Tiamat, the next step below, I think, is units like Rosa and Shiada. Where's Shiada? Right here. Units that can clear this Doki Doki threshold. Now, keep in mind, guys, as you go down through the list, right? Real Mocha being like number 1, Messiah being number 2, Tiamat closely behind Messiah. As you go farther and farther down the list into like Shiada and then definitely into like Rosa, it's going to require more investment, right? Real Mocha is the number 1 DPS clear for a reason. So keep that in mind. The other units will probably either need more gear or require more like Lattice investment. But that is one of the major things, is try to find a Doki Doki DPS carry, because that's what I've found to be a lot of players' biggest, missing piece. They have their, they re-rolled for their Heinrich and their Lily, but they don't have their DPS carry like Real Mocha or Messiah, Shiada, units like that. So that's the main thing. The other thing is, do you have an accessible healer? Because we don't get Ling Luo until day 7. And a lot of times for early progression, you will need a healer. If you're full free to play, you won't be able to get Valerian for free. So that might need you to put more summons into the regular banner. If you don't have Marvel, which we really want for both PvP and areas like that NicoNana I talked about, you're going to want to pump more summons into there. So once again, it varies on a case-by-case basis. But if you keep in mind those big milestones that everybody's talking about, the Hell Mode, the NicoNana, the the Doki Doki threshold boss, make sure you have that on point. And if everything's looking good, you have those kind of early game milestones on lock, then you can go ahead and hold off on the premium or the regular summons and go ahead and start saving for like Apex banners and things like that. All right. So once again, my suggestion though overall would be to ask me specifically in a live stream on Discord, where I can actually check on what you have and kind of advise you a little bit better on a case-by-case basis. But anyways, guys, this is a video already went way too long. Hopefully you guys are having fun with Etheria. Remember, this is all for the min-maxers. If you want to play a little more casually, that's fine. But I'm assuming the reason you guys are clicking these videos, once again, is because you're trying to play as efficiently as possible. So stop by my live streams. Enjoy Etheria. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.